I am just devastated by this. I just can't let it go.
Never.
I'm going to make your life hell for what you've done to me.
Can you imagine the power to forgive? Are you willing?
Pretty powerful words, aren't they? We've all said them once or twice. It may resonate with you still today. And that's what we're here to talk about today, is to talk about how can we heal and how can we let go of those feelings. My name is Paul Skehen.
And I'm Jane Ray.
And we're just so delighted to see you today. So let's talk about what is forgiveness. Let's start with Wikipedia's definition. It is an intentional and voluntary process by which a victim undergoes a change in feelings and attitude regarding an offense, lets go of the negative emotions such as vengefulness, with an increased ability to wish the offender well. So that sounds ideal. And in the divine form, it's in each and every one of us. And this is where that forgiveness process is it's a bridge from, in our human mind, that someone has wronged us. And there is no answer for that. But when we seek inside and we search within, that's where our spirit calls us to show up differently. And it's important to know it's not about the other person. It's all about you and how you choose to live today. Forgiveness sounds, it's a word that's just ambiguous to me. So I call it a peacefulness process. It's a process to get to peace. And that process takes time. You have to love yourself enough to let go of the hurt, the betrayal, the anger, and the resentment.
Forgiveness is not pretending that something never happened. It doesn't mean that you try and change the other person or expect to have an apology from them. It does not mean that you continue in an unhealthy or toxic relationship. And it may mean that you will never trust that other person again.
You probably are all pretty familiar with the works of Don Miguel Ruiz and the Four Agreements. It's a classic unity teaching that we go through here probably every other year. And one of his probably not so familiar works is this one here, the Mastery of Love. And 6-7 years ago, when I was going through a divorce, this was a gift that someone gave me, and I read into it, and I was just really embraced by Don Miguel's poetic speakings. And in it, in the back couple of chapters, there's just a couple of really great nuggets on that forgiveness work, and it just hit me like I had never understood before. So it is just a powerful book. I thought forgiveness was weakness. And it is in that surrendering process. I think it's in the masculine and the male where we can't surrender. We're too strong. We're too bold for that. And it is in that surrenders where we find the peace through the process. I'm only hurting myself by not letting go. He breaks the process down into 3 simple steps that I say simple because it's a journey for us to travel together with those feelings. And the very first one is truth. It parallels the impeccability of your word for those of you who have read the Four Agreements. Being conscious to what you believe. What I believe is different than what Jane believes. It's different than what Paul believes. We all have our own belief systems. And those beliefs are your truths. So choose your beliefs wisely. And it is in there that you really think about, back to that Wikipedia's definition of, do you believe you're a victim of those experiences? It's something to think about. Let's go a little deeper around that. In Unity, we use denials and affirmations as a tool to get us through those unhealthy beliefs, those lies that Don Miguel calls it. And so let's use one of the examples we talked about before. I will never forgive you for what you did, ever. That's a belief system. So what if we used a denial and an affirmation to work on that? This is something that happened years ago that's still running in your head today. So what if we said, I no longer accept that I cannot forgive? That feels a little bit different, doesn't it? And then denials create a void, and the universe abhors a vacuum. So then you need to fill it with an affirmation. I love myself so much that I choose to let go of the pain and suffering so I can live life in love today. So that is the work of forgiveness, is to be a student of the mind and to listen to the chatter that is occurring. It's the tools, it's a process. It happens. I forget, one study said we have like 200,000 thoughts a day. And in those thoughts is where we have to capture those belief systems and use our tools that Unity teaches us.
We all have work to do when it comes to forgiveness, and it can be as simple as forgiving the person that cuts you off in traffic. Or it can go a lot deeper. Something that has made you feel broken or so deeply hurt that you feel you really can't let go of it. And you may say, I would like to forgive, but I just can't. This is not the truth. The truth is that you cannot forgive because you learned not to. You've practiced it over and over again and actually become a master of unforgiveness. It becomes a war of pride. An experience that happened to us in the past is no longer what is true in this moment. So we make a choice as to whether we are going to live in pain or release the emotional poison. The injustice that created the wound is no longer true right here, right now, in this moment. 2,000 years ago, our way shower Jesus said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Forgiveness is a practice. You may ask yourself, how do I truly forgive? Don Miguel describes in The Mastery of Love, we have to open our emotional wounds, clean them, and use medicine until we are healed. The truth is the scalpel that opens the wounds. We tell ourselves so many lies, and we believe the lies that others tell. Truth needs no justification. It needs no explanation, and it needs no one's support. It never changes. You will know when you have forgiven yourself or someone else when you talk about the story or when you see the other person and you don't feel anything. You have no emotional zing move through you. You can touch the wound and it doesn't hurt anymore. You have a scar and it reminds you of what has happened. But when you are healed, you are grateful that you have made it through that darkness and are now filled with unconditional love. And let us take a moment and remember what unconditional love is. Unconditional love has no conditions. There are no, if you do this, or if you would do that, I would love you. Unconditional love accepts. You choose forgiveness because you no longer want to live in emotional pain. Ephesians 4:31-32 says, "Get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you."
Thank you, Jane. So first we talked about defining a new truth, a new belief system, one that supports a healthy and loving life. And then we dove into forgiving the other. And I like the zing that you talked about. You know, how many times have you been in an environment where someone hurt you deeply and you see them in 3 months, 6 months, a year and a half, and all of a sudden you just get that kind of cold chill through your body? That is where the forgiveness work still lies. And that is where we choose to just let it go. And we're not saying to let them take advantage of you again. We're saying just let it go so that it doesn't affect you today. It's very powerful teachings. So then, when you get to that point where you don't feel that energy around the other, then you're to the last stage of forgiveness work, and that is forgiving yourself.
In The Mastery of Love, Don Miguel explains, "You have already mastered fear and self-rejection. Now you are returning to self-love. You can be so strong and so powerful that with your self-love you transform your personal dream from fear to love, from suffering to happiness. Then, just like the sun, you are giving light and giving love with no conditions. You, the human, and you, the God, align with the spirit of life moving through you." Isn't that just beautiful? Your life becomes the expression of the beauty of the Spirit. Life is nothing but a dream. And if you create your life with love, your dream becomes a masterpiece of art. As a child, we already know this. We are free as we let go effortlessly. We just need to reconnect to the inner knowing that we were born with. Think about where you could love yourself enough to have peace. I no longer burden myself with, "I have been devastated, I just can't let go." Instead, we know we have learned that the hard times have happened, but they have brought us to the now. And now I choose to let go, to release, to forgive, to live from that place that creates joy and happiness within my being. Just like the sculpture where you see the two children that want to touch each other and reach out and be again friends.
So, we'd like to leave you with a little childhood hymnal. Reading Don Miguel's work, it's so poetic and so it just lulls you into this trance of goodness. That reading his works really reminded me of just a simple childhood song. And so I invite you all, if you would please, just to close your eyes right now and to imagine yourself as a child. And when I sing this little song, even if you giggle, that's great, because that's where you were as a child. You could laugh freely. And take it in to how this applies to your forgiveness work. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. So as you row your boat down the world of forgiveness, as you tackle each and every thought, each lie and belief system that is in your mind, and you replace it with loving, healthy thoughts, do so just gently down that stream, knowing that you're doing it, as Nicole said in her opening prayer, you're doing the work for the love and the peace and the joy that resides within. You're doing it because you love yourself and you want to live present. You're doing so because you are a gift to the world. We are so grateful for this opportunity today. We are so grateful for your presence, and we are thankful. And so it is. Amen.